Welcome to episode 177 of the Muck Podcast, a member of the Odd Pods Media Network. Listen in as we discuss the dark and sometimes weird true stories in American politics. I'm Tina Hanamiya.
And I'm Hillary Doherty.
Hillary, take two.
We just recorded for 4 minutes, and I looked down and I said, "This video's not going."
Yes,
that would have been the second time.
We're having.
Yeah,
this is the week I'm having.
It's no worries. We caught it early. At least we didn't catch it 30 minutes in.
I would have cried. I'm so fragile.
Could you imagine all of the genius coming out of this mouth not being on TV? Come on, our YouTube.
We need it. It's the same thing.
People want to know what we say and what we think. Clearly.
Oh my god.
Oh, but anyway, I'm going to repeat it because Tina always says Hillary, and I was telling Tina, I was like, my mom listens to the podcast every week now, and every Wednesday I get a rundown of like, I heard what you were saying today, and
that's so sweet.
It is sweet, and she was saying, she goes, who's this? Hillary. I go, oh, it's Tina. That's Tina.
So it's nice that you have family listening. I don't know. Maybe I think my uncle listens here and there.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
That's a good thing.
I think so too.
I mean, come on. I mean, I love that they support. My sister listens too. And
I don't think my mom's listened once.
Yeah, no. I mean, listen. What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do?
It's fine. It's fine. I mean, I'm okay with it. I don't think I say anything too crazy, do I? She's used to it. This is how we are on the phone, so it's fine. So let's just start from the worst of the worst. And I was, as I said a few minutes ago, DeSantis announcing his presidency, knowing it's been coming for years, knowing we were going to see this very soon, it still was very shocking.
The worst thing that could.
It really was. Even if the bungled way it rolled out on Twitter, which was fucking hilarious to me.
Have you seen all the failure to launch movie? Parodies with Elon Musk's face.
So here's the thing. First
of all, Elon Musk.
I know.
Right there.
But the fact that the thing it didn't work, it was fucked up. But here's the thing here's what DeSantis is in a nutshell. And if y'all just listen to this very clearly, this is who DeSantis is. He's clearly calculated and ready to take advantage of everything he can. He goes on Twitter with Musk and announces in this fucking shitty way, Twitter Spaces. He announces his presidency. It's all bungled, whatever.
Low ratings, PS.
The very next day, he signs a bill that was sitting on his desk that any company in Florida that does space exploration, if they have a failed mission and somebody gets hurt or dies, that person's family cannot hold that company accountable. He signed that. Guess what the company that is here is SpaceX, which is owned by Elon Musk. He signed that the very next day.
Isn't that quid pro quo?
Yes, I mean, this is who Ron DeSantis is.
This is a guy who is going to strip away everyone's rights. And I think that's the thing, though, like we were saying on our pre-recording that we accidentally didn't record, that this is a person who we have to reach people to let them know. We have to figure out where is it going to hit them that Ron DeSantis is president. Because there's people that don't give a shit about transgender bans. And there's people that don't give a shit about abortion bans. And there's people that don't, the people are like, well, that doesn't matter. It doesn't bother me. So who cares? You know what I mean? But this is a guy who's getting in fights with Disney, who's taking away jobs. I think that's the thing that we should look at. That the impact on the Florida economy based on his ridiculous laws and how we're losing money as a state. Do we want that nationwide? That's what we got to think about strategy-wise. What is the language to really hammer home to people that this would be an utter disaster for the nation?
Here's the thing about Ron DeSantis. He's only for Ron DeSantis. That's the scariest thing to me about him. I think that he has had this path planned out for on his own since college. I think he's known exactly. He went to the best schools, went into the Navy, worked, now he's got this career, this experience. Then he runs for office. He was a congressman, kept his head down, right?
You always forget that he was a congressman, to tell you the truth.
He didn't vote for some things for Trump, voted for some other things with Trump, kept his head down, didn't make friends there, came back, ran for governor, used Trump. Probably one of the only people who have used Trump successfully, and now Trump's trying to turn against them, but
it's not gonna work.
Trump is a joke.
Yeah.
So now he's got the best of him. He used him when he needed to and got into office. We remember those commercials. My kid's building a wall. Like, he used Trump, and Trump endorsed him, and he took the state at the height of Trump's power. Right? And now he's using Trump as an enemy to say, that's not the good Republican, I'm the good Republican. And it's going, I gotta tell you, I think it's gonna work. But here's what we know about DeSantis. It is all about him. He doesn't care about the little guy.
No.
Does not care. And he doesn't care about companies either.
Nope.
And so here's another thing that came out a couple days ago, which is absolutely insane. And he's doing it in broad daylight. And the people, it's all over Twitter, and everybody's talking about it. And no one's going to hold him accountable because it's a super majority. The lawmakers in Florida, the legislature, should be calling a special, I don't know if they can call special sessions. I think they can.
Are you talking about the lobbyist stuff?
Yes.
Yep.
So right now, there are a stack of bills sitting on DeSantis' desk to be signed. Here's what the fucked up part is. His actual office staff, not his campaign staff, his office administration staff they're calling corporations and lobbyists and asking for donations, or he might not sign these bills. Now, some of the bills sitting on his desk will help these companies or will hurt these companies. They are threatening for him to not sign the bills based on how much they're going to give them in donations.
How is this even legal?
It's not. It's called extortion.
Yes.
And it's happening from his office staff. You have office staff and you have campaign staff. Those two can't go. They can't mix. Office staff cannot campaign for you. It's against the fucking law.
And if you've listened to the show, we have covered politicians who use their office staff for this and have gone to jail for it.
They lose their jobs.
Yes.
Remember those women, the sisters?
And they went around.
Yes. This is not good. So 10 GOP lobbyists told NBC News they were talked to, said they've never seen anything like it, and they're feeling pressure to give to the priorities of DeSantis. But it's from the office staff. Like, this is fucking so fucked.
Needs to go to jail.
But there's nobody who's going to hold him accountable. And these fucking
federal level,
Republican legislators are out of their, what are you doing? Wake the fuck up. He used you like he's using everybody else. What do you get? He used them so much, and he's made them feel so invincible that our very own Republican goon in Broward County, Chip LaMarca, who I pretty much set my boundaries that I was going to not discuss Chip LaMarca anymore because I've lost my mind, and I was like, get it back, let this motherfucker go. Mute him on Twitter, which I did, so I didn't have to look at his shit. But this fucking piece of shit this week. He thinks he's something. He's about 2 feet tall. He thinks he's 7 feet tall with his midget ass fingers and short dick. Which I can say because they didn't, that bill where you gotta hold people liable, they didn't say it. So here's what I think about you and your short dick. Threatening Broward County libraries.
Broward County libraries is releasing these optional, you don't have to have your library card have this particular logo on it, but if you want, you can have a library card that says I read banned books, something to that effect, and it's got like flames on it, But again, you do not have to have that card. So if you're someone that doesn't want that card, then get the regular Broward County library card. So he came out and tried to threaten their funding. But did you see that he's pedaled back?
Yeah.
He's pedaled back like, I don't have any say in the money and da-da-da-da-da.
Here's what happened. The Broward County Library puts out this tweet with the picture of the cards. Listen.
Guess who's getting one?
I gotta tell you. I'm
getting one.
I gotta tell you. I know that you and I feel differently about reading. But to make a library exciting, like they're looking for things to do.
Yeah.
Like they're trying to promote the fucking library. Give me a break.
And,
okay?
Literacy.
And also, the don't say gay, woke bills, all these things that took books off the shelves in your classrooms, doesn't apply to libraries. This isn't a school. This is where anyone, adults and children, can check out fucking books.
Yeah.
It doesn't apply here. But they put this tweet out, and Dickbag fucking goes on there and's like, I don't think this is a good idea.
Please, when is the last time
the governor still has a pen and can veto money? He actually put a number down of how much they could take away. And I was like, oh, I retweeted it and I said, I'd really love to hear
Is that
what the
retaliatory? Like, you can't do that.
You can't do it, but he's threatening it as if he's got the governor's ear.
Oh, please.
Hey, Chip, let me give you a heads up. DeSantis doesn't even know who the fuck you are. He hears Broward County and he wipes his ass with that.
Right.
He doesn't give a fuck about you. Do you understand? He even said that in an article. Like Chip said something about how he goes to these meetings and he says he's from Broward County, and they're like, Broward County.
Yeah.
You're nothing. You are nothing. That feeling you have inside when you look in the mirror and you're like, I wish I was 2 feet taller. We know. We know that's why you tweet shit like that, because you are so insecure as a human being.
And he's desperate to get DeSantis' love.
You're threatening to take money away from the libraries in Broward County where you were raised. You love talking about how you love Fort Lauderdale, love that you were raised here, love all your... What the fuck are you doing? Whose side are you on, bitch? You want to take books out of the fucking library? Oh, by the way,
funding from a program that is already suffering.
Yeah. Also, let me just remind you too that this is the same stupid fuck who put out commercials with his wife.
Oh yeah.
That's going to be a good pause because in my head there was a 1,000 names that I just bit my tongue. And she stood there in front of a camera and said, "My Chippy, he's not an extreme Republican. They're just bullying him. He's not. He's the middle of the road. He's not extreme." Really?
Coming after libraries is extreme.
Take off those big boy pants you put on when you put that tweet out and shut the fuck up and sit down. Nobody's interested. Well, nobody's fucking interested.
The best part though is that he had to come out.
Because Nan Rich blew it up.
Because everyone flipped the hell out.
I retweeted it and I was like, I'd really love to know what the Broward County Commission thinks about this because it's all filled with Chip's buddies.
Yep.
All of his old buddies over there at the fucking commission. And so I tweeted that. A couple other people were like, what the fuck? They started to write about it. Commissioner Nan Rich that morning brought it up and was like, and she brought in the library director. Ooh. And she was like, the library director at the meeting said all of the attacks that she's been getting and hearing from this. So he basically, what he did is put a red flag on it for all of the like Moms for Liberty dicks to come after this woman. That's what you did. You just made a fucking county employee in the county that you represent in Florida. You put her on a target on her face. What the fuck is wrong with you? You're so insignificant. This is what you have to do? This is what you have to do? Shut the fuck up. Go to Tallahassee, bury your head in the fucking sand and do your dumb fucking bills and come back here and go hoity-toity around with all these other motherfuckers. Nobody cares about you. You're termed out soon, thank fucking Christ.
Oh my God.
And then you're gonna come back here and you're gonna sniff around for another fucking job. I swear, here's the best thing about Chip and Marka. If you're walking in a crowd with him, you wouldn't even see him because he's so little.
Nothing against short people.
Oh, fuck that. You know what my daughter said to me? Short people scare me. I say, no, me too. There's something right about that.
Oh my God.
I fucking hate him. You see what happens? The hate doesn't go away. It's right. It's surface. It's right fucking there. He just needs to do one thing, and I'm like, what? And you know what the thing is like it's very Charlie Crist. Charlie Crist could have sat in St. Pete. In this beautiful home he's got there, sits on all that money or whatever the fuck he's got.
Living his best life.
He's a congressman, goes to the fucking house, goes up to the fucking DC.
Ruins our election.
U.S. House Rep, could have lived a fucking life for the rest of his life sitting in that seat.
Instead, he let DeSantis get elected again.
But he said he wanted to stick his head up out of the sand and be an asshole. And, I still can't get over that fucking election.
I can't.
But it's the same thing with Chip. Chip goes to galas. He gets awards. Listen, go to his Twitter. He goes and he's accepted all over the county.
Who's giving this man awards?
Because I think that listen. Anybody who can get a state rep to come to their events, they're here for it. I get it. But this guy?
No.
This guy?
There's a lot of other people.
Look at what he's voting for. He voted for every single thing the Republicans did this year, except the 6-week abortion ban. He didn't vote for that. He didn't vote for it. But everything else he voted for.
But the same thing with the Don't Say Gay earlier. He doesn't have to. Right?
He lives in a very...
pick and choose... And he knows what's gonna sort of get a reaction in Broward. Yeah. So he picks and chooses, and it's all about keeping himself safe. It's not about the people of Broward. Right. It's about securing his seat. It's about him not having to get any flack for what he's saying.
But the thing that really fucks me up, because they have the majority. He doesn't have, like you said, he doesn't have to vote for anything. So like, why are you doing it? If you need to come, you are from Broward. They don't need your vote. Why are you doing it? You got to come back here. You've got to come. Yeah. And where are the Democrat leaders saying to you, I'm not taking your phone calls anymore? Where are they? Where are they? Why? I just don't understand it.
I know.
I don't want to give any more. I can't. I can't give any more time to this fucking piece of shit. We all know that you're fucking cowards. Yeah. We know it. Thank you to Commissioner Nanrich for fucking saying something. It shouldn't be always, to me, it seems like it's always women who are doing this. Everybody should be outraged by it. Everybody should be outraged by a fucking a Florida House rep threatening a library.
A government agency. And this is so dangerous because some, people, the only way that they can access books and access information is through their local public library, and you're going to threaten them. You're going to threaten their funding. You're going to put a bunch of people out of work. Like, this is what you want.
It's also just bad politics. It's also bad politics. Like I said, it doesn't make sense to me why you're doing any of these things. Why you're coming out for any. It doesn't add to your legend or your career. It doesn't do anything. It's just another pimple on the ass of it. You know what I mean? Like, what was the point? Who advised you on that? You need to take advice from people and say, hey, I'm going to tweet this, because you could have let it go. But it was Steve Bosquet wrote an entire column in the fucking editorial of Sun Sentinel about you. Like, what are you doing? There was a whole article written by Anthony Mann. What are you doing? Why are you highlighting yourself like this? It was retweeted by Carlos Guillermo Smith and tons of other people. Tons of other people outside of Florida were retweeting that you were doing this. Oh, why did you do it? It's so fucking dumb.
He's a fool. And the other thing, because this ties back to the overall book bans and tying back to this DeSantis run for presidency. The one thing that you hear a lot of the Republicans that are running over and over saying is they keep talking about public education. They keep talking about public education and how the public schools are sort of this space where liberals are indoctrinating children. This is what they're saying repeatedly. This has been the thing for the past year. And they're going to keep doing this on the presidential level. And you need to think, if you have your kids in public school across America, these Moms for Liberty, I watched an interview, I think it was on CNN, and this woman, they actually believe that teachers, that there's a conspiracy from, I guess, the deep state, I don't know who, but that teachers' unions and teachers, their whole plan is to turn children gay and trans. Like, that's the agenda. And that they're going to sneak in books, and when you make people have empathy, it's because you want to turn somebody gay or trans. It's the most ignorant, ridiculous thing I have ever heard in my life. But this is what they genuinely believe. And so you can't fight crazy, right? Like, because that's crazy. Like, you can't talk to a crazy person and make them change their mind about something like that. But you can vote and make sure that the people who are aligned with Moms for Liberty are not getting into highly elected seats so that they can make changes to our schools. And it's at the state level that we are screwed across this country, because they're doing it state by state by state by state until they can get it on the federal level.
I can't even believe I can't believe that we're still in a place where people think that you can convince someone to be gay.
I know. Isn't that the craziest thing?
I mean, do you wake up in the morning and all of a sudden go, oh, I want to, fuck a woman? Like, does that make sense? It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make
Men don't all of a sudden, or boys who are going through puberty or been through puberty go, oh, you know what I really want to do? Suck a dick. Yeah. That doesn't happen. Oh, look, my teacher put a gay flag up, a rainbow flag up. I must be gay. Yeah, that doesn't happen. And if if you have no confidence in your child and the way that they're maturing and the way how they feel, there's nothing that is going to convince them of that. They already are gay or they already are trans, and they know it. And if you are putting these vibes out, it's not the school who did it. They've already been, that's who they are. And when they're 18 and they can get the far away from you as they possibly can, and you'll never see them again because of this reaction, you'll know why. Or maybe you'll never know why. And you'll just be like, oh, my son hates me and I don't understand. Or my daughter hates me. And that they won't include me in their life. This is why. Because this was your reaction. Because you don't accept people for who they are, including your own children. And shame on you. But it's not the school's fault. Your kids know if they're gay or they're straight.
And we've talked about this before. I have read a lot of books in my life.
Oh, we're coming out hot today.
Okay. I read, I think I've said this on the podcast before, I've read American Psycho. I didn't suddenly turn into a serial killer. Oh my God. I read Flowers in the Attic. I didn't start wanting to have sex with my relatives. You know what I mean? You just because you read books about things doesn't suddenly mean you're going to become the thing that you're reading about. It is insane to me.
I think that you just made the most perfect point. I don't think they read books.
Yeah.
And I know I don't read books. But also, I don't think they understand what a book, I don't think they read. I'm serious. I'm really serious. And even with
the Amanda Gorman.
Yes! I was just going to say that! The one parent who complained in Miami-Dade County about Amanda Gorman's poem that she read at the inauguration of President Biden, they banned it from the schools. One parent complained. What? And by the way, now that this dumb bitch put herself on the fucking spotlight, they start going through her shit. Oh, and on Facebook, she put an anti-Semitic fucking post up a few years ago. Now she's apologizing to Jewish organizations. You're a cunt. Shut the fuck up. Shut your fucking mouth.
But this is...
I don't understand what is wrong with you?
Well, but the thing that I don't understand further is that parent put a complaint in, and they have a template. These Moms for Liberty nuts, they have a template. When you want to protest against a book or whatever it is, you fill this out, and they give you the language that you're supposed, indoctrination or whatever, you put the thing in there, and you can put it forward. But there is still a committee of people that have to read that complaint and either agree or disagree. And for one parent who... Fine, put in your stupid complaint. Yeah. Who are the people approving it?
Here's the thing.
Miami-Dade schools.
Yeah, can I say something to Miami-Dade schools, Broward schools, anybody else who's listening? You can say no.
Right, I don't
You can say no, this poem is important, it doesn't offend anyone. Shut the fuck up and go back home, bitch. And go home. Go back. How about this? We said it last week. Get a job. Get a hobby. You have too much time on your hands. Shut the fuck up. I know. I'm sure her kids had never even read the poem. No. She's out of her fucking mind. One parent is going to pull things. I don't think so. And that's how it is. When you go to these counties, it's one guy in Hillsborough County in Tampa who's been doing this for years. One guy's taken 60 books off the shelf. Why? Does he even have kids in the school? Who is this? What's his background? Go look at his fucking Facebook. What's he up to?
Right.
Is he a Proud Boy? Who the fuck knows? But you can say no. Who cares if there's flack? Target? Yeah. Who cares if there's flack?
Target.
Who cares?
But you know what?
Bud Light? Who cares if there's flack?
But that's the whole thing, right? Target, all these companies, they're for pride, No, they're for profit.
Yeah. It's corporate pride. Rainbow corporate, rainbow capitalism is what they call it.
If they gave a shit,
they
wouldn't allow this. I've seen some of the videos of these.
It's one person. It's one fucking guy.
People and the things that they're saying and the things they're saying to employees. And newsflash, the person making minimum wage at Target doesn't control the merchandise that comes in the store. So to threaten, the everyday employee that works there is stupid. Number one. I'm disgusted by it all.
It's the guy who wants to be famous. He goes and he makes these videos. Oh. He wants everybody to look at him. It's all about
the veteran stuff.
It's all about look at this video. I'm going to say the most outrageous thing.
But there's women too going on and with the onesies going. Who would put this on their son? This is disgusting.
Again, when I go to Target, I've got a mission. Do I get distracted and then Target and then I start buying other things I don't need? Absolutely. I'm human. That's what happens when you go to Target. But guess
what? If when I look at the want your kid to wear pride shit,
I'm gonna go to my local Target. By the way, I'm gonna go see because it. Last time I saw it, it was in the front, and it better fucking be there. It better fucking be at the front. If they've moved it to the back, I'm gonna be really pissed. It better be in the front because here's what happens. I look and I go, oh yeah, look at all the pride stuff. And sometimes I walk in and see what they have. Sometimes I keep walking. What are you doing? I don't need men's bathing suits. I look over, I go, oh, there's the men's bathing suit section.
Who cares?
I get the fucking shit I need and I get out. Who is looking at this stuff? Again, this whole guy's thing. The guy is a disgusting human being. And there was one video of him, and there was a really hot woman who worked at Target, and she was walking past him, and she's like, and he couldn't take it because she was very good looking, and it was like she immediately was like, yeah, I'm into Satan. What? Yeah, I like pride stuff. I'm into Satan. And he's like,
he's like, you like Satan?
She's like, yeah. And then the security guard comes out and is like, you need to leave. Yeah. And then he's like, I'm going to buy this shirt because I'm going to burn it. And she goes, yeah, we'll take your money. Like, sure, buy the fucking shirt. He's a piece of shit. All right, listen, we're off track. We're off track. This is the Chippemarca ship blew me. It blew me out of the water. Okay, there have been 3 lawsuits. Here's the thing about DeSantis, too, to get back on DeSantis. Is that he signs these bills and almost immediately there's lawsuits. And so now he's going across the country saying he's done all this thing for voter registration to like keep it safe and secure. Except that last year, after the election, there were 20 people who were charged with voter fraud, and all of them had received notifications from the state saying that they could vote. Yep. 20 people.
It's the state's fault.
He's trying to make it like there's this mass conspiracy. There is not. 20 people, and they've all received it. It's really, and it's sad because now they had felonies, they thought they could vote, and then they voted, and now they're charged with something else. It's so fucked up. Some of the cases are being thrown out, some of them aren't.
What a disgusting man.
I know.
Like, you're going to destroy people's lives to bolster yourself up.
Yeah.
What kind?
It's really sad.
You're bolstering yourself up. You're a man who has money, who has access, who has power, and you're going to go shit on people.
I mean, it really, and I know it may not seem like a big deal, but it is. And it's the fine is like $700 or something.
It's a huge deal.
And people can't afford it. And when I say it doesn't seem like a big deal, it's like, oh, just pay the fine. But like this, if people can't pay it and they get late and they get fines, it builds up. They could lose their driver's licenses and they can't drive. If they get pulled over on the way to work to make money and they don't have their driver's license, do you know what I'm saying? It snowballs into making their lives harder. And why are you doing this to people? These people are just trying to live their lives. They thought they could vote. They went to vote. They want to participate in democracy.
And there wasn't anything malicious.
They all have these notices saying that they could.
If they have the notices, then it's the state's fault. And how do you charge someone?
Right. Well, then those are the ones that are getting thrown out. Anyway, the NAACP, League of Women Voters, and Hispanic Federation all have thrown these lawsuits at the state because of these things. It places additional restrictions on third-party voter registration groups, which these groups are, including dramatically increasing fines up to $250,000 per year, which is up from $50,000 the year before. For failing to turn in the applications on time. Like if you,
and they shortened the date.
Yeah, it went from 14 days to turn in the applications or the voter registration apps to 10 days. And if they don't turn them in within the 10 days of having them, then they can get a fine up to $250,000, right? Jesus. And also there's legal violations from preventing non-U.S. citizens from handling registration applications. They can't help register voters. Republicans say it's to protect the vote and add safety precautions. But again, like I said, there's no voter conspiracy here in Florida. This is all them trying to
He came out and said it was
make
great.
It harder.
Do you remember that?
Yes. This is them just trying to make it harder for Democrats to get people to vote.
Oh my God.
Hamburger Mary's is another company that has also now sued him over the drag show bans. Hamburger Mary's is a very famous restaurant. I think it's all over the country, but it has drag shows there. And that's part of their bread and butter. And their lawsuit is, we are going to lose money and have started to lose money because of this ban. And you are stopping us from having our company work.
So again,
make money in Florida.
Republicans who are all about small business.
Yeah.
You're putting your hand in people's bread and butter.
Yeah.
And there's not only that, but there are people in service industry, hotel industry that are seeing profit losses of 20 and 30%. Because people aren't coming here.
Yeah.
Because of these bans and saying that the state is dangerous. So that's what I would love to see. I would love to see revenue data from all these laws that he has enacted and how it has impacted our state, our unemployment rates. That's what I want to see. Because again, we're living in a state where everything is skyrocketing and people can't live here. And you're taking away jobs and money.
Yep.
He's such an idiot. He's going to tank us into the ground all for an attempt at the presidency that he's not going to goddamn win. Well, he better not.
I have 2 more things. Do you have anything else?
No.
Okay, so here's the other thing about this podcast that I just want to say. Hi. I literally sit here and look at the camera like this, and I look at Tina and we're just talking. I don't really think anybody's listening. That's real. I mean, obviously, I just say a bunch of really crazy things. Sometimes Tina says things and images pop in my head. And so when Tina last week brought up cowboy boots and DeSantis, I immediately saw Representative Dan Daly and boots, right?
Yes.
And then it made me think of Moskowitz and his sneakers. And I talked about that. I didn't really think anybody would hear that. Like, I really didn't.
Hi, Rep.
Hi, Rep Dan Daly, who then tweeted at us.
Oh my God, it was the best.
These boots are for you. Thanks for the shout out on my podcast. And I was like, oh. And I took a screenshot. I sent it to Tina, and she fucking sends me a voice message back laughing. She's like, what is this? Is this real? And I'm like, yeah, it's real.
Oh my God, it's the best. Highlight of my week.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. And thank you for having a sense of humor about it.
Yes.
Sorry if it hurt feelings. I thought it was funny, but also like, I do have an issue with like, I don't know what's happening with this. I was trying to describe to somebody why it bothered me. It doesn't bother me, but it's like odd to me because your feet are saying one thing, but the rest of you is saying something else. And that's why it's odd.
It's just a vibe that we don't, vibe we don't know.
Like, are you a farmer and a state rep? Like, is that what's happening? Like, I think he's into horses. Like,
wait, because isn't he like Parkland area?
Yeah,
so
and I know he's like into horses.
Like horses and stuff out there.
Okay, so like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you know, no disrespect.
No
disrespect.
No.
Also, thanks for listening. I don't know.
Yes, thank you.
I know our sweet friend Kim works with him. I think she's still working with him, so maybe she passed along. If that's so, thank you, Kim, because it did make us. We were like,
oh my God.
I hope nobody else listens to this.
Everybody, I want everybody to listen, please.
I thought it was funny. I gotta tell you, I love somebody with a good sense of humor. Yes. So thank you for sending that tweet. We really, it was the highlight of our week. Also, the last thing I want to say, because now we are like 35 minutes into this funny opening, is Tina Turner passed away this week. Aww. And this is Saturday, so it's coming out next. So last week, I guess I can say she passed away. I gotta tell you, Tina Turner is one of those artists that I've known my entire life. Yeah. You know, and so she lived a very long and a very happy life for a long time when she got out of the man who we will not name.
Yes.
And lived a very happy and healthy life. I mean, if you know her history, like she was sent away from her family and raised by like grandparents at the age of 9. She picked cotton and didn't really go to school. Like she was just a survivor from a young age. And I always thought that's you could hear that in her voice. You know, there was a sense of like power and just somebody who has been through it. And that's why her music was so good. And why it lasted for as long as it did for decades, because she's one of those artists that pulls you in and you feel every single bit of it. And that's what I look for in artists and music. If you can draw me in and I can relate and I can feel it, like that's a fucking star. And this woman was a star.
Yes. And the other thing that I love about her is, you know, she had her early career and then, you know, things went awry in that relationship because he was horrible. Yeah. But she like makes this comeback as like a mid-40s woman and like is hot. Remember 42? She's like in those outfits and like her legs, those legs like for days. How incredible. Like especially like at a time where in the 80s, like it was still very much like a youth, you know, for women, like a youth market, you know, and to have like this white, but to have like this amazing middle-aged woman, like hot, sexy singing. And that to me is like inspirational because women, especially at that time, I feel like were allowed to, you know, like it's like you aged out at like 25, you know what I mean? So that to me is a thing that I really admire about her too, is that like, I mean, owning that stage, owning her sexuality, like, come on.
And she got to a point
and
in
like her
career,
popularity, like soaring at middle age. It's like you can be successful at any time.
Yeah, it happens at any time.
I love it.
And even being as successful as she was, like towards the end of her life, I think the last like 30 years of her life, she didn't even live in America anymore. She lived in Switzerland. She lived in Italy. Like she didn't live here. And even the interviews were like, when are you coming back? And she's like, listen, my businesses are there. I'm home there. But
who wants to come back here?
It wasn't for her anymore. And that happens to a lot of Black artists. They leave America and feel more free. Yeah. Here's the other thing for an old gal like me also that I love, because she has there's a documentary on HBO called Tina. You have to watch. Also the beautiful name. I looked at Tina when I said Tina. You have to see it. The other thing about her is that at 50, she met someone who was going to be like her driver in Switzerland or something. And she ends up falling in love with this man. Oh my God. And that was the love of her life. Like when she talks about this guy. Oh my God. And they were together for like 20 years and they finally got married when she was like 70.
Good for her.
She was like, all right,
Let's do it.
And I mean, just what a beautiful, loving relationship she had. And that it's never too late. That you can have all of those things. That no matter who you are, where you are, that love is still a possibility. Success is still a possibility. Yeah, believing in yourself. She was interviewed by...
Survivor.
Yeah. Amazing. She was interviewed by Mike Wallace for 60 Minutes in one of her homes in Europe. And she was like in her 60s, and he's like, they were overlooking this like fucking view of her at her house, and he's like, do you think you deserve all this? And she's like, I deserve more. Whoa, and I'm like, that's how we all should be.
Yes.
That's how we all should be. Give me everything. I deserve everything. And to come from such a broken upbringing and a broken first marriage and all of those things, and to build herself up so much, she's like, I deserve everything. That is so impressive and remarkable, because we as women don't say those things about ourselves. We don't think about ourselves that way. Good for her. Good for her. What a beautiful human being.
What a loss.
It's a huge loss.
What a loss. Remember her Mad Max?
Oh my God. Outfit? It just made me think about everything about my childhood. She was just such a force. A force.
Oh.
I know.
My God.
Sorry, I'm writing down titles.
You better be good to me.
I won't even dare sing her. I won't even dare sing.
That's as far as I'm going.
So today, I'm covering Clotilda, the last slave ship.
Ooh.
Girl. Okay. So I watched this documentary, I don't know, 6 months ago on Amazon Prime, and it's called The Order of the Myths. And I watched it because my ex-husband's family is from Mobile, Alabama. And the whole documentary is about the Mobile, Alabama Mardi Gras, which, by the way, was started before the ones in Louisiana. But
what?
Yeah. And so really this...
I've never even heard of that.
Yeah, it's huge. And listen, I know because the family and everything. And so I've never been to the Mobile Mardi Gras, but I know it's a big deal. I know that my ex-husband's family is very involved in it, blah, blah, blah. But here's the thing I didn't know. There's a white Mardi Gras and there's a black Mardi Gras. They have a white Mardi Gras king and queen. They have a black Mardi Gras queen.
Oh my God.
And the two don't mix.
That's so Alabama.
And the two don't mix. Alabama.
It's so Alabama.
And when you watch it, it's a 2008 documentary, so it's some time ago. But even in 2008, they're like, oh, everything's fine. The blacks are happy. They're happy with their own Mardi Gras, blah, 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 blah. But the thing that was interesting about this one, which I think is why this woman who made it, her name's Margaret Brown, and she's actually from Mobile, and she went back to do a whole movie about it, is that the one from 2008 was really interesting because, she was filming the 2007 Mardi Gras, was that the queen, her name was Helen Mayer, of the white Mardi Gras, and the queen of the black Mardi Gras, whose name is escaping me, and I should have written it down, they were both direct descendants. The black Mardi Gras queen was a direct descendant of Clotilda slave ship. And the Helen Mayer, which we will hear in the story, is a direct descendant of the people who brought that ship in. I got goosebumps. Is that wild or what?
Oh my God.
Is that fucking wild? And it's also the first year, so this 2007, where the black king and queen came to the coronation of the white king and queen and were actually on stage with them. Like, they never mixed, and people were like, oh, we're so glad you're here. Thank you for being here. Like, welcome them in, especially, I think, this Helen Mayer, because of the things I've since read, like, to do this story, they've been very like, her family now is like, this was all shitty and bad, and are, like, trying to, like, have some sort of, like, reckoning of, like, what the Mayer family were involved with in Mobile, and what had happened
Well, that's a
all
good
these
thing.
years. It is a good thing.
So
because the Mayer family,
why can't we do this nationwide? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Because the Mayer family is still very wealthy, still very prominent.
Oh,
like her grandmother was a queen at one point.
Oh.
And I know it's like when you watch the documentary, you're like, this is fucking, like, if you're not from Mobile, you're like, what the fuck is going on? But the traditions of these Mardi Gras for Black and white people there is like deep roots. Like this, they've been doing this for hundreds of years. It's like a big deal.
Merge this?
Never. Still not merged.
Still not merged?
And they say that it shouldn't be merged. At least the white people say that. Why mess with something that's working? They are happy to do their own thing. We're happy to do it. I don't know. Anyway, that's where I heard this story. Is from this movie. And the way they described it in the movie is not really how it happened. But I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But anyway, I thought that was kind of crazy. So the schooner Clotilda was the last known U.S. slave ship to bring captives from Africa to the United States, arriving at Mobile Bay, Alabama in the autumn of 1859.
Oh my God.
Or July 9th, 1860. They're really not sure, like with records and
late
dates.
1800s.
Because this didn't have any dates written down, right? And it brought with it 110 African men, women, and children.
Oh my God. So
U.S. involvement in the Atlantic slave trade had been banned by Congress through the Act of Prohibiting Importation of Slaves enacted on March 2nd, 1807. So this is like 5 decades later. This is 50 years later still happening. And it was effective January 1st, 1808. But the practice continued illegally, especially through slave traders based in New York in the 1850s and early 1860. So a little history about the Clotilda. The captain was named William Foster, and he was working with Timothy Mayer, a wealthy Mobile shipyard owner and steamboat captain who in 1855 or 1856 had built the Clotilda, a 2-masted schooner 86 feet long with a beam of 23 feet high and a copper-sheathed hull designed for the lumber trade. Now, a schooner, it's a sailboat, but it's an 86-foot long sailboat. It's huge. Mayer had, so this is fucked. The reason why they went on this and got these 110 slaves is because Mayer was said to have bet another wealthy man from New Orleans that he could successfully smuggle Africans into the U.S. despite the 1807 Act of prohibiting importation of slaves. So this all happened because he's like,
oh my God, just on a whim. Like,
yeah, hey, I could do it. I won't get caught.
Who cares about people's lives?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So departing on March 4th, 1860, Captain William Foster sailed from Mobile with a crew of 12, including himself. The schooner had to be refitted as a slave ship with a false deck. So underneath, it didn't look like there was something there, but that's where they were going to put everybody.
Wow. I mean, he really put a lot of thought into this stupid bet.
Yeah. Yeah. Foster obtained false papers with false claims that he was delivering lumber. And when they were in Bermuda, like on their way there was a hurricane and it damaged the ship. And while repairing the ship, the crew of 11, who did not know the real mission or purpose, discovered the hidden deck. And he persuaded them not to alert authorities, and Foster agreed to pay them double, which of course he never did. The boat was headed to Whydah in West Africa because Mayer had learned that West African tribes were at war and that the king of Dahomey was willing to sell enemy prisoners as slaves.
Oh, God.
Dahomey's forces had been raiding communities in the interior parts of Africa, bringing captives to the large slave market at the port of Whydah. It was said there they were mostly from the Takbar tribe, taken in raid near Tamale in present-day Ghana. Research in the 21st century suggests that they were actually Takba and Tapa people, the northern Yoruba name for the neighboring Nupe people from the interior of present-day Nigeria. When he arrived, Foster offered to buy 125 Africans in Whydah for $100 each. Foster wrote in his journal in 1860, quote, "Having agreeably transacted affairs with the prince, we went to the warehouse where they had in confinement 4,000 captives in a state of nudity, from which they gave me liberty to select 125 as mine, offering to brand them for me, from which I preemptorily forbid, commenced taking on cargo of Negroes, successfully securing on board 110, end quote. As the captives were being loaded, Foster saw 2 steamers off the port and fearing capture, ordered the crew to leave immediately, only 110, so they left 115 standing there. They saw a warship during their ocean passage, but escaped notice when a squall came up and they outran the ship, reaching Abaco Lighthouse at the Bahama Banks by June 30th.
Wow.
So there were government boats out there making sure this thing kind of thing wasn't happening, and they were getting away with it. As they neared the United States, they disguised the schooner by taking down the, quote, square sail yards and the fore topmast, end quote, hoping to pass as a coaster, carrying African captives within the U.S. in the domestic coastal trade. Foster's journal recorded that he anchored Clotilda on July 9th off the Point of Pines in Grand Bay, Mississippi. He traveled overland by horse and buggy to Mobile to meet with Mayer. Fearful of criminal charges, Captain Foster brought the schooner into the port of Mobile at night and had it towed up the Spanish River to the Alabama River at 12 Mile Island.
Wow.
Yeah. So he transferred the African captives to a river steamboat, then burned the Clotilda to the water's edge before sinking it. Now, the way they told it in the movie was that he anchored the boat, from what I remember, and then he went in and Mayer was like, get this boat out of here. Yeah. And then he burned it. I thought he burned it with them on it. And then the people who survived got to the shore, but that's actually not what happened. But I feel like that's what I heard in the movie. And I was like, this is crazy. So when I started to read this, I'm like, this is not what happened. So he paid off the crew and told them to return north. And the African captives were mostly distributed to the financial backers of the Clotilda venture, with Timothy Mayer retaining 30 captives on his property north of Mobile, including Cujo Lewis, known as Cusola or Cazula. And this is somebody who becomes very important after the Civil War. When Cujo Lewis was freed, he became a historian about the Clotilda.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Yeah. And in the first quarter of the 20th century, Lewis began to serve as an informant for scholars and other writers, sharing the history of the Clotilda Africans with traditional stories and tales. He was also one of the founders of Africatown, where he died in 1935, which I will talk about. It's an incredibly important neighborhood in Mobile.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Despite the racial hierarchy of the Deep South, the Africans from Clotilda could not legally be registered as slaves because they were smuggled in. However, they were treated as personal property. Some of the captives were sold farther away, including Ridoshi, who also became one of the longest living slaves from the ship. She was believed to be the longest living survivor until they found another person who was. She was taken captive at 12.
Oh my God.
She was sold again and enslaved on the upcountry plantation of the Washington Smith family in Dallas County, Alabama, where her owner renamed her Sally Smith.
Oh my God.
Yeah. In 1861, the federal government prosecuted Mayer and Foster in Mobile for illegal slave importation, but the case was dismissed for lack of evidence from having the ship or its manifest, and perhaps because of the outbreak of the Civil War. So everything kind of went away.
Right.
Because Captain Foster reported he burned and sank Clotilda in the delta north of Mobile Bay, archaeology searches continued into the 21st century for the wreck. Some visible wrecks had been referred to by locals as the slave ship. Wreckage from Clotilda was allegedly found in 2018, but the Alabama Historical Commission ruled out the findings because of, quote, major differences between the two vessels, end quote, and apparent lack of any fire damage. But in May 2019, the Alabama Historical Commission announced the wreck had finally been found by researcher Ben Raines, showing, quote, physical and forensic evidence that powerfully suggests that this is the Clotilda, end quote.
Wow.
Yeah. So Africatown, which is really again, is mentioned in The Order of the Myths. They show it. It's incredible. The Africans of the Clotilda were effectively emancipated at the end of the Civil War, and many of Mayer's former enslaved people returned to Magazine Point, which is this area, and to land owned by Mayer on the Mobile-Tensaw River Delta, just north of Mobile on the west bank of the Mobile River. They founded the all-black community of Africatown and attracted other ethnic Africans to join them in the independent community. They adopted community rules based on mostly the Takpa Tapa customs and chose leaders. Some maintained the use of the Yoruba language and cultural traditions in the 1950s.
This is giving me goosebumps.
Yeah.
This is beautiful.
It's incredible. Hold on to that, though. Children born in the community began to learn English, first at church and then in schools that were founded in the late 19th century. Cujo Lewis lived until 1935 and was long thought to be the last survivor of Clotilda. In 2019, a new study established that Ridoshi, who was Sally Smith, renamed Sally Smith, lived until 1937.
Wow.
And then she was considered last survivor until 2020. It was announced that Matilda McCreer had survived until 1940 when she died in Selma, Alabama, and she was the last living survivor.
Wow.
The community of Africatown grew to 12,000 as new industry attracted workers to the upper river, including paper mills built after World War II. But with closing industries and job losses, the population has declined to about 2,000 people in the early 21st century. In the post-war period, the area was mostly absorbed into a neighborhood of Mobile, where part of the neighboring town of Pritchard. In 2012, the Africatown Historic District was recognized and listed on the National Register of Historic Places.
Wow. So what about now, today?
So let's talk about that. Okay. So Margaret Brown, who made The Order of the Mist, followed up with a 2022 documentary called Descendant, which I've started watching this week and I didn't get to finish it. But it looks into the Africatown community today, including the environmental and societal inequities still present after 160 years and the impact of the Clotilda's 2019 discovery had on the area. And it was produced by Netflix and premiered at the 2022 Sundance Film Festival. And it was also produced by, I don't know if you've heard this person before, Barack Obama. The Obamas have a production company. Yeah. God, I love Barack Obama. Anyway. Barack Obama. In the beginning of The Descendant, which I've started watching, they haven't found the ship yet. So some point in this, they're going to talk about it. But it's really interesting to see the conversations and the people who still live there are direct descendants from the ship is so incredible to me.
So today, is there any, are the people in the community, do they know the language? Yes. Are they still holding on to the traditions and
from what I've seen so far, there are people who are designated storytellers.
Oh my God, I love this.
Yeah, and they are passing it down.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, but it's less and less people there.
Yeah. But then if they keep passing it on to the kids, and then they,
But I think it's also incredible that your direct lineage. The names are the same. They know exactly who everybody is. Kind of incredible. Wow. Here's something I thought was amazing. So Henry Louis Gates Jr., who has the show on PBS called Finding Your Roots, on season 4, episode 9, which aired December 12th, 2017, it showed census data for Mobile and Captain William Foster's journal from the Clotilda during a segment explaining the family history of Questlove. You know who Questlove is? Yeah. He's a drummer for The Roots. He's on the Jimmy Fallon show, Tonight Show. Incredible movie producer. He made that movie about the Harlem Music Festival that I love so much. Okay, listen to this. His great-great-great-grandparents, Charles Lewis, who was born in 1820, and his wife Maggie, born in 1830, were among the slaves brought from West Africa on the Clotilda. Isn't that incredible?
Wow.
Yes.
It's wild.
Amazing. And also, Gates found an article in the Pittsburgh Post on April 15th, 1894, recounting the wager the Captain Timothy Mayer had made in 1859, and that he could smuggle in these slaves within 2 years. And he found another article from the Tarboro Daily Southerner on July 14th, 1860, that 110 Africans had arrived in Mobile on Clotilda. So people knew.
Yeah.
The July 1860, that's when people knew that this was happening, and they still couldn't. There's an article talking about how he made a bet and people still can't hold him accountable.
So,
come on.
How is the current Mayer family trying to
so they
reconcile or
I read an article, it was from a couple years ago, where the Mayer family met behind closed doors with some of these descendants from in the Africatown, and they brought there's a museum there and there's historic whatever. They brought some of these old artifacts from Mayer and things things that he used to put in there, but they're having discussions. They're acknowledging their family's part in all of this, how horrible and horrific the whole thing was. I mean, they're not distancing themselves from it like we've seen in other things, in what was the one in North Carolina, Wilmington, where there's statues of people. That shit's not fucking happening. No.
Okay.
The family is still very prominent, but at least they are acknowledging the horrific family history.
But are they compensating?
No, I don't. They're not compensating, please. So here's the thing that was so great about white supremacy is that it never fucking goes away, right? It continues and it comes in other ways, and we've heard about environmental racism, and that is exactly what happens today in Africatown. So given its location along waterways, this area was developed for mills and other industrial uses, especially in the early 20th century. So a paper plant was built in 1928 and operated for decades on the land first owned by A. Mayer Jr. on the edge of Africatown. And residents state that they have serious industrial pollution and public health problems, which has caused a high rate of cancer since the late 20th century. Jesus. There was a point where anybody born I believe in the 40s or something, in the 1940s, weren't living past 65.
Jesus.
Because they were all getting cancer.
Jesus.
So in 2017, a group of about 1,200 residents launched a lawsuit against International Paper. Bless you. As this company had owned the now shuttered paper plant. The environmental group claimed that International Paper improperly handled the handling of waste through the decades, contaminated the land and the water, and the company did not clean up the site as required after closing the plant. The case was settled in 2021, but the amount wasn't disclosed. But still, like, this is the fight that they have every single day. And that's the story of Clotilda.
Well, but this is a way that mayor family can...
I agree.
You know, do something. They have the money to do something and help that town.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I mean, that's kind of fucked. Like, I mean, great. I'm happy that they're acknowledging their role, but, like, you got to do more than acknowledge it, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
You know? I mean, they have the means to do it.
And they probably know a lot of people who could help too.
Yeah, come on. What a story. I mean, it blows my mind. It's like the founding of our country.
And even like the things that some of these slaves, like, that they lived through. Like, they get here and shortly afterwards the Civil War starts.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how that went down? How fun that was for them. And they lived through that. Then they had to live through Jim Crow. They got to live through, like, the Depression. You know what I mean? Like, Jesus, Madonna, like, what point did they catch a break? Still never. Still not. Like, still the families are fighting.
Yeah.
Like, my God. How much can you put entire generations of people through?
Well, on that note.
But also, this is the importance of knowing history.
Yes.
Right? Like, this is the importance of it.
We need to know history.
The thing that really bothers me, too, about DeSantis is, with the banning of the books, he literally has a press conference where there's a sign that says, book ban hoax. And I don't understand how that's possible. We know that it's happening.
It's happening.
He even said, you know what he literally said in a speech a couple days ago? That poem, that being banned is a hoax. That didn't happen.
Well,
how can he say that?
So what he's saying, he's like, we just, it wasn't appropriate for the elementary school level. I'm sorry, 4th and 5th grade kids, 1st grade kids can listen to that poem.
It's ridiculous.
What? There's nothing, there's no language or vocabulary in that is too challenging or difficult for young kids.
Yeah.
And, you know, we just have, I guess, as parents in the state of Florida, a huge responsibility of teaching history ourselves.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to be happening in the public schools. So again, when you're thinking about not voting because you're like, who cares? Like, I don't have time. This is a problem. You want to have a nation full of people uneducated?
I also want to bring up this. My son goes to a private school. We were talking about shootings at schools or something like that. Drills.
Yeah.
Shooter drills or whatever they call. What are they called?
Active
shooter drills. He's never had an active shooter drill. He's been in private school his whole life. Never had it. Never had one. So our kids in public school are going through the fear of that, even if it's not a drill, even if it's like, we don't know what's happening, everybody get in a corner or whatever these things are when they beep and there's something happening on campus and we don't know yet. So to protect you, we need you all to move over here and block your door or whatever you need to do. My son and his classmates have never experienced that. And they're learning about history.
Yeah.
There's no banned books there. So, I don't know.
And guess what?
I think it's fucked up that this is how, that we know it's not necessary, right? Like, there is a world where there aren't active shooter drills, where there aren't those sort of threats happening. Not that they don't happen in private school.
Yeah, no.
What I'm saying is, that's not a thing for him.
But here's the other thing that's part of that. The people that are sending their kids to private school, that have the money to send their children to private school, they're the same people actively fighting to have book bans in the public school. Because if it was happening where their kids go to school that could impact their education, they wouldn't be for it.
Also,
you know what I mean?
They're the same people
such bullshit.
Also, they're the same people
It's such bullshit.
They had a meeting at the school about how you could take advantage of those vouchers. I told you, they were telling people in the newsletter, and then all of a sudden it's like, don't forget tonight's meeting about how you can sign up for that free money. And I was like, holy shit.
Because that free money, again, is not going to help the everyday person. Because, again, that voucher program works like a rebate. So, like, you know, you buy your washing machine and it's like, okay, send in for the rebate for $500 or whatever it is. But you got to have the money to buy the washing machine first.
Right.
The same thing with this education. You got to pay that tuition up front. And if you don't have the money to pay the $15,000, the $19,000, whatever it is, you can't participate, right? So it's because it's not guaranteed either, because there's a limit to how much money they can give. So it's first come, first serve. So the people that have the money can do it. Because they get the voucher, great. They don't, they can still afford the school. But for people who can't, because most private schools, I'm sorry, are more than $7,000 a year, they can't do it. So again, this is just a rebate for rich people.
And also, as far as like active shooter drills and all of that, and the sort of education that he's getting that she's not getting in my house, like, I really feel like we are going, because of the things of DeSantis, maybe in like 10 years, we're going to really see a difference in these kinds of students. Yeah. Public education versus private education versus whatever. Like, we're really going to see. I mean, I even had a conversation with my daughter. I said, I don't want you to go to school here for college. Like, I want you to have the options to read women writers, LGBTQ writers, learn about Black history, the diversity, and like I said, even if it's a very small school in another state, and it's very whatever it costs to be out of state, it will be expensive. But if we find a very small school, like, this is not the place. This is not the place. Even if it's down the street at FAU, we know that there's things happening there. You know, so we can't do this to our kids. Can't do it.
We can't. So.
And I feel bad for people who have been paying into a system here. They want you to get that, what is it called? The Florida prepaid. Florida prepaid, you when you have a child here, you can start paying every month, you put a little, or every week, whatever.
We're not doing that.
You put a little money into this thing, and then when your kids graduates high school, you have a thing sitting here, and it goes to any public university you can send your kid to, and you paid for their college.
You paid for their college.
And now colleges are fucked.
Right. And you've locked it in at the rate that college was like when your kid was little. Yeah. So that they're not paying, because rates go up every year. So you get to lock in a really good rate and all of that. But my husband and I had the conversation. We don't know what the state of education is going to be. And there are great universities here. My God.
Yeah.
And
this is terrible.
And there's bright futures. Like, so for people like me, for families like me, where we need help to pay for our kids' education, you know what I mean? Like, any support would be amazing. Now we're like, wow, great. I'm glad there's bright futures, but do I want to send my kid here? And hopefully by the time they go, maybe things change. Maybe it's going to be like the kids at New College who had their own separate graduation, right? They had the school. Maybe the faculty, did you hear like the board at New College was like, we have a vote of no confidence in the board of trustees. So maybe with more faculty and more students protesting, things will change. I hope by the time our children are on their way to applying and thinking about going to college. But if not, and then again, we want this on a nationwide scale. So like, we have to think, because they just think that education, it's like they don't want kids to think, right? They're like, this is where they go to learn liberal ideas. And it's like, they learn about the world. They learn how to think. And when is that a bad thing? My God.
All right, on a different note, look at my cute ass
Barbie.
Oh my God,
it's so cute!
My cute ass Barbie hoodie. Oh, can I get it over my headphones?
You can. Right there, girl.
Oh! Do you like it?
I'm a Barbie something.
I cannot wait for this movie. I'm so excited.
Wait, I thought it was out already.
No, I think it comes out in June.
Oh, it's a summer movie.
But also, Ryan Gosling is in it.
That's her love.
Abs.
That's her love. That's the love of her life. Hi, Ryan Gosling. Maybe you can do an appearance on our show.
I love that Ryan Gosling is the love of my life. I really want to manifest that. Can we make it? And also, I want his hair to be that bleach blonde too.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
All right.
I guess that's it.
That's it. What more do you want from us?
What do you want?
What do you want?
Blood. All right. All right. We'll give it to you. We'll give it to you. Just don't wear cowboy boots. All right. I'm just kidding. All right.